Welcome to Property Talk from Louise's Lounge. My name is Louise Heatley and I'm Managing Director of Exclusive Links Real Estate with over 18 years in the Dubai real estate market. Through our podcast series, it's an opportunity for us to discuss some interesting topics, bring you some insights into the Dubai real estate market, have some guest attendees, and it's also an opportunity for you to meet some of our team. Zan Yankee has real estate experience in both New York and Dubai. Before he transitioned out of the brokerage side into prop tech and fintech, and today he manages the dual roles of CEO at Property Monitor and Director of Market Intelligence and Research within the Cavendish Maxwell Group. Leading in real estate analytic data, market intelligence, real estate advisory and property valuations, these two companies certainly keep him very busy. And we are delighted to welcome Zan back to our podcast today. Welcome back, Zan, again, third time.
Oh, thanks for having me. It's my summer routine.
It is, I know it always comes after the H1, end of H1. So before we go straight into H1 2023, do you remember last year? Can we have a little look? Do you remember any predictions?
It feels like it was yesterday.
It does feel like it's going too quick, these annual podcasts. But can you remember back to 2022, what some of your predictions were? And now I did say when you're on next episode, let's talk about it.
Yeah, you'd see how close we got.
Yeah.
We hit the mark on a lot of them. Mm-hmm. So prices was one that we were looking at where we'd just come through sort of end of 2020 is when the market started to recover, and then prices were growing and almost running away to an extent, and then what we were predicting is to see some moderation in them. And we saw that moderation in prices. A couple down months, but very small, but then appreciation was sort of sub 1%. Nice, healthy, long-term growth.
Steady.
Yeah, and that's what we want. Long maturing market, not something that's going 2-3% a month. So we hit that one right until, well, last quarter, and then we had a couple of big jumps. So we had a 2.5% increase in last month, which is now going to be the May report. So 2.5% jump there. But other than that, it's been pretty moderate. So not too much running in prices. So we got that one right. Transaction activity. We predicted as well to remain high above the long-term average, but not to be at crazy numbers. And again, similar thing, right? We were pretty much on track for that until the last quarter, where we've had a couple of 12,000 transaction months come in. A lot of them have been driven by off-plan, which was another one of the predictions. To see a market, so before COVID, the market was sort of in the favor of 60-40 off-plan. And then during COVID, it swung in the favor of completed and resale. That started to shift a little bit, and now we're almost back at that 60-40 split. Off-plan launches soaring ahead. We predicted growth in the high-end and luxury market, and in branded residences. Where we check, we got those ones. Branded residences, I think, have gone crazy. Some of the ones we didn't quite hit exactly on the head. Mortgages. We got the prediction on rate. Right, we thought the Fed would go up to about 5% over the 12-month period. It's pretty much right around that. We expected transactions or mortgage transactions to slow down. They didn't.
Hasn't.
And even if we back out the bulk transactions from big investors, it's still really healthy in the new purchase money and the refi.
Individual investors, it's still high.
Yeah, even in spite of those high interest rates. So we missed that one a little bit. I thought we'd probably be at a third or 2/3 of what the transaction volume is now. Other than that, we're pretty much on the money with a lot of them. Some other trends that we were expected to see, but probably a little slower behind, was growth in the villa and townhouse segment. More launches coming on. There's some challenges with that, right? So
we were just talking about that before we started shooting. Last year, the off-plan compared to this year, what were the stats on that?
So last year that was one of the predictions. This time last year, we were saying about 35 to 40,000 units would be launched for sale. It ended up being about 53,000. Year to date, well not year to date, up to May this year, already at 35,000.
So we're already close to last year's.
And we're probably going to see, I'd say, 80,000 units, new units come on the market for sale that are in the off-plan stage throughout this year. It's huge. But the percentage of villas is what that's where the demand was, but it's tough to launch a villa community. There's only a few developers that can get that, or have the land bank, or can acquire that sort of land.
And the expertise of the development of the land projects.
Yeah, so we didn't see too many of those come to market until now. All right, so I'll take what's happened in the last month and it kind of levels that out. But going forward in the future, I think we're going to see some more of those coming. Some big announcements last year with Aldar coming into the market with a JV with Dubai Holding.
A lot of interest in Aldar, yeah.
Yeah, so projects. 311, 611 corridors is where they're supposed to be building. There's no one's said which plots they are. We very eagerly look at the plot map and go, what's available?
That's a ploy, isn't it? Just to kind of get the interest.
Yeah, we've got a short list because we know what's there, who owns what, and we're kind of like, all right, it's out of these 10 plots, we've got an idea where it's going to be. So we're pretty well on the money with a lot of those predictions.
If not just exceeded some of the expectations.
Well, that's the other thing. Is I expected the market to start slowing, moderate, and then by this time really start to slow down. But it's really just gone from strength to strength and can't really see an end in sight.
And you've just mentioned there about the last quarter. So talk to us specifically about Mayhem. What has gone on in May?
Mayhem, always
the last quarter,
nice little headline of a report. So we had March Mayhem and then May Mayhem. We coined it that, or put that in the report, because of the significant jump in activity and things going on. So those 12,000 transaction months were March and May, right? The one that was in March was, I think, the fourth highest number of transactions ever. Only beaten by some crazy months in 2009, which is that far back, and there's sales that happen in earlier years that kind of got backfilled into there. So it probably is legitimately the highest transaction volume month. And then there was a dip the month after, and then it's shot up again. But even if you average them out, there were over 10,000 transactions a month. Right?
Over that quarter, yeah.
We used to routinely be doing 3, 4, maybe 5,000 was a strong month. Last month was 10,000 transactions. I was just looking at the numbers this morning, just over 10,000.
Which for June as well, it's very high if you look year on year.
Yeah, no summer slowdown.
Right? Yeah, it is. It's like, we have a little summer slowdown and then it kind of kicks back quite quick. Yeah.
What's driving it though is a lot of these off-plan launches. So what was in the pipeline, what launched, those 53,000 units that launched in the last 12 months or in 2022, they don't get registered straight away, right? So developers have a 60-day grace period to get the accouds done, and there's exceptions to that for certain circumstances. So you start to see those come in as well. So a lot of those now starting to hit the books, which is keeping those transaction numbers high. Resale activity is slowing down.
There's nothing to buy.
No.
The demand is there, I think,
So
for ourselves, but the stock.
There's buyer demand, there's seller demand and supply, but not at prices that sort of meet that bid-ask spread. A lot of sellers are like, you know what, put it on the market, right? If I get my number, I get my number.
Yeah.
But the numbers now it's too much of a gap. So you're not seeing those move as much, particularly villa and townhouse segment.
Yeah.
Apartments, there's more movement and growth in there. But the off-plan market, like I said, we've got 35,000 so far, tracking another 135 projects that'll potentially launch this year.
Oh gosh, okay. That's huge numbers, isn't it? Would that be the highest off-plan going back to...
Yeah, I mean the most projects launched in a single year.
2002, if we go back that far.
Yeah, without a doubt. It'll be the most number of projects, the most number of buildings, the most number of units. It will, and look, it'll be the most number of sales. It's not like many of these projects are launching and not selling out.
Yeah.
Right? The big developers, very few units, if any, left. The smaller and mid-sized developers, taking a little bit longer, but they're selling.
So just while we're talking about off-plan, so the impact, Emaar's latest community, Oasis, and of course the much anticipated Nakheel Palm Jebel Ali. What impact are they going to have apart from give us the numbers that contribute?
So we'll start with Palm Jebel Ali. I mean, everyone knew it was coming, right? There's no better time to relaunch that project. Nakheel took out a massive amount of refinancing to have the equity to go in and to develop it. We're starting to see the fronds and the villas. The land is now being registered. We know what's going to be built. Sales haven't been announced. Right, so we roughly get an idea of how many villas, but no idea on price point, no idea on when.
Yeah.
I think after the summer you'll see it come on.
Yeah, we're all waiting sort of towards the
you'll see
latter part of the year.
Yeah, September, October,
Yeah.
November, I think you'll start to see launches there.
A lot of anticipation, as I say, for a mega project to be launched back in,
Yeah, and I think there's also going to be a degree of they've got to test the waters. How much can they get, right? This is, remember what plots and villas sold on Palm Jumeirah years ago for, right?
But they're not getting them back, no.
Arabian Ranches villas are more expensive now.
Yeah.
So I think there'll be a little bit of testing the water, and then also testing the water on either side as well. Don't forget, one side has a spectacular view of Jebel Ali Port, and the other one has much nicer views. So it's going to be interesting to see there. But
that price variance, it'd be the same villa, just different
there'll probably
views.
be a little bit. I mean, look, the view is probably not that bad, right?
Do you think they've learned a lot as well from Palm Jumeirah, and then they can take all that knowledge, experience, and
I think not just Nakheel, but I think the majority of developers have, the master developers. When it comes to driving on Palm Jumeirah, I had an office there before, I loathed it, right? Paved roads, speed bumps, no traffic, it just wasn't good in certain regards for that. They've learnt from those things. With each project, each master project they do, there's improvements. They know what worked last time, what didn't work. I think they're much more equipped and forward thinking with it now. The big one, the Oasis. It's massive.
Yeah.
It's massive. When we got the news about it, first thing I did was, let's identify the land, which they've got. The gross total amount of land area that includes public facilities, roads, everything else is about 110 million square feet.
It's huge. It's a mega project, yeah.
So to put that in perspective for someone, if you take Ranches 1 that most people are familiar with, that's about 84 million square feet, including all public works and everything else. So take off 10% of both, right? So you're looking at about 100 million square feet and 78 or so million square feet. It's going to be huge. When you look at their master plan, though, it doesn't look like a whole bunch of units.
So you think it's more low density build that concentrate
a lot of mansions and things.
Infrastructure and the
When I first saw it, I was thinking about 2,500, 3,000 villas. They've announced, I think, close to sort of 7,000 units. So what I'm going to assume is that there is, from the master plan, what you can tell, there looks like there's going to be some apartment buildings around there as well. Each one of those, say, with 300 to 500 units, that starts to really push that up. Well, there could be smaller buildings as well, but look, it's going to be a massive community. There is so much water that they're putting in there. So you have these beautiful lakes that are going to go through there, 25% green space, big plots for some of these mansions. They've really gone for just even the design, they've maximized how much water frontage they have.
They're up in the game a lot with this project.
Yeah, I mean, look, and pricing, no one knows what it's going to be. Right, there's rumors things are starting at 8 million, but I've not heard or seen any official pricing. Benchmarking to it, you've got Talal Al Gaf right there, which I think is probably the best comparable. If you look at the Lanai Islands, where you had the smaller villas going for 90 million and then up to 150 plus.
As well,
Jumeirah Golf Estate, and even Damac Lagoons, right? And some of the villas that are on the water, and it's right in that vicinity there. So they're going to be benchmarking against those prices.
So have to,
I think you're going to see townhouses, villas, entry price points at the lowest, probably looking 4 to 5 million, and those mansions, well, the ones that are on the water and that, if you've got to spare 100 million plus in your pocket.
Just keep the notes free,
So massive project coming on. It's going to be a whole lot of units. I think it's going to have incredible demand and sell really well. And then looking out further, like Dubai South.
People get great bargains down there.
Yeah,
and a lot of things are moving out
all the
direction.
Pulse stuff that Dubai South did themselves. You've got Emaar South, where they've still got in their master development more going. Azizi's got, I think, about 20 million square feet as well, where they're doing a master community. If you look at the master plan again, there's a whole bunch of other big prime parcels where I think you're going to see take up and more of those communities come online.
There's something for everybody. I think investors that want to enter the market, or if you just want to reinvest and keep your portfolio, there's something in that strip, isn't it? That's there for everybody. So talk to us a little bit about producing the Property Monitor report. Obviously you make predictions, you make statements. Quite challenging in compiling your reports?
Yeah, I mean, so when we set out to do the report, I think we're up to issue 40 something now. It's a monthly report, and when we set out to do it, it wasn't just to put out a report like everyone else does. It would have put out something that had a benefit to anyone that was picking up to read it, where they could easily digest the main points of the market. So we're a data platform, right? And we've been, for years, taking what little data is available, cleansing it and augmenting it to have the most granular things possible, removing some of the outliers that are in the market so it doesn't sort of skew things. A studio with a mortgage for 300 million, that's obviously not right.
Yeah.
It was a portfolio mortgage or something. So there's challenges with it. We've got a great team. We've got a lot that goes on with the algorithms that go through and organize the data, cleanse it. Then we've got the human element that comes in. And every month I sit in front of multiple screens and I look for things that shouldn't be there. And they're one of two things. One is we've missed something, which is rare. And two is it's identifying a trend. It's spotting the unexpected in data to go, oh, interesting, let's look at why that happened. And then it's digging in and starting to see what's behind it. So there's a lot that goes in. We've got our price index as well that takes not just sales, but pending sales. So we get more of a real-time pulse. So we're looking at what's transacted. We're looking at what valuations there have been. We're looking at pending sales, SPAs, MOUs, and we're also looking at active listings, all weighted differently, but when we combine them together, we get a real-time index as much as possible. So if you look at our price predictions or our index, what it says today, other indices in the market are probably 3 to 4 months behind that.
I think there's a lot of data to access for people out there, but it's, as you just said there, it's analysing it and thinking about the big picture and other factors that actually your report's condensed. It does all of that.
Yeah, we try and wrap it up. I mean, data transparency is something that's needed for any major market to be successful. For end users, for institutional investors, so the fact that more's come out from DoD is fabulous. Right? Some people go, doesn't that put your business at threat? No, right? Yeah. The more data that's out there, the more that everyone has access to it, more need there is to interpret it. So from a platform, it's helped us out great because more people want access. From the report, there's more and more interest. We're getting in front of more and more people. It's great when we get feedback on social media or messages coming in and someone's just got something small that they want to ask or clarify. And it's really good to see that there's that connection now and that desire to know more.
And you're speaking about the DLD and the transparency. The recently launched QR code, putting towards the permit. Great, another transparency where people can actually read it and check that the property's active. What impact has that had on Property Monitor, if any?
So because we're a B2B platform and we're behind registration and we don't display listings directly to the consumers, it doesn't affect us. But Trikezi is something we've embraced from day one, right? Because what we don't want is fake listings in our platform.
That's like your active listings, I suppose, that you take the data from. Exactly. You want to know that it is active.
And when we've got brokers and they're preparing reports for consumers and they're referencing those, we don't want junk that's in there. Right? It doesn't help anything. So we've been using the Trikezi permit since day one. The QR code itself, we're implementing it, even though we don't have to, but we like the idea of having it there. For the broker to also, if they want to scan it and check or click through to the link, but from the actual applications where the portals need to put it there, it's great. Yeah. Right? Before it was Trikezi permit had to be on there. No one knew what it was.
But it was kind of hidden, you know, it was a number, but it didn't actually authenticate it to the extent it does now.
And it's also for the portals to, it's one thing to go, oh, yeah, we've got a Trikezi permit with this listing that's come through and we've hit the API from the DoD and it says active. Well, that's not enough.
What property does it belong to?
Is it the right property? Is the listing coming through as a villa, but the permit is for a plot of land in the right community? Is the price right? They've got these multiple fields. So the DoD's had multiple calls, and we've been a part of it with all the portals, and they're really behind this to bring more transparency, to get rid of junk listings that are on there. It's going to reduce the number of listings on portals, which might not be great for brokers and the portals themselves, because their model is one where the more you pay for the amount of listings that are on there, or you pay for prime placement. So if that volume drops, they still need to make the same amount of money. But better quality leads, it may all even itself out. But for the market in general, we've been an advocate from day one behind Trikezi. The QR code is the next step of it. There's further evolutions of things they want to do with it.
It's just going to keep evolving and open.
What they want to get to is an actual MLS at some point.
They're very good with the pricing as well. They're very good, as you say, behind the scenes, the documentation, what the owners have agreed, but then what's actually marketed, they are very good to check the pricing on that as well, as to show that that is actually what the owners agreed to. So no, we're all for it. As you say, the listings maybe reduce, not from our side. We like the quality and the transparency. So with transaction numbers still on the rise, as we've talked about in the off plan, and obviously the percentage, the increase month on month, what is the outcome? We're predicting again, and we're going to bring this out again next year. What are we feeling for the rest of 2023? Do you think the off-plan supply is going to have any impact?
There's always that question. Look, we're in the upswing stages of the market cycle right now. So we're in recovery. We've gone from recovery into growth. What tips that market over if you're looking at a sort of a curve, right? The next stage is hypersupply, and then we get recession, right? But these are the economic terms we put behind it. So we're in growth. We're in growth and expansion right now. What pushes it over? It's in the name, hypersupply. It's too much supply. Do we have too much supply right now? If you look at absorption, the answer is no, right?
Demand's so strong.
Demand is there, what's being launched, what's being brought to market in the completed segment, if it's priced right, things are moving. Who's buying them, right? That's the question to ask. Who's going to be the buyers in the future is the other question to ask. So the Russia-Ukraine war has definitely, Dubai has been a net beneficiary of that, right? There have been population increases tied to that, and buyers from those nationalities have definitely increased across the market. China's opened up, right? Interesting stat I heard the other day. It opened up earlier this year, but we've not seen significant increase in numbers.
No, we're anticipating that.
So the interesting stat behind it was, during COVID, I think it was 70% of Chinese nationals with passports expired.
Okay.
And now there's a backlog at the passport office to get them reissued. So they're physically not, they can leave, but
so
their
passports.
For
that.
So as those passports come, you'll see that wave of investment follow. I always refer to Dubai as having a market that's got a lot of taps that turn on. We've got this river that flows, right? And it seems that Dubai has a tap that constantly gets turned on. And as one gets turned off, another one turns on, whether it's COVID happens and we handle it really, really well, and that makes it more appealing to people. So there's a tap that comes on globally. Russia-Ukraine, tap comes on. China, tap comes on. Go back to other events that have happened as well, right? You've constantly had this influx into Dubai. So the question is going to be is what's the next tap?
What's next?
Can we keep that river flowing? I didn't expect it would be as strong as it is now. It's got to slow down at some point. When it's a big crystal ball one.
And when you say slow down, do you think the prices are going to?
So two elements to it.
Because a lot of people are thinking, right, do I sell now? Do I buy now?
The golden questions, right? So I'll give personal opinions on things. If I'm looking for a villa or a townhouse, I am probably not a buyer in the completed space right now. Well, I'm not a buyer personally in the completed space. I'd be looking more off-plan. I think there's better value there. There's a lot of really good products, but they're selling quickly.
Payment plans,
And I think where a lot of the completed properties they've gotten to probably their price peak for this market. Maybe there's a tiny bit more, but there's not big growth gains to have. If you're buying today for end use, it doesn't matter as much, right? Because you're going to occupy it. If the price goes down 20% in the next 2 years, do you care if you're there as long as you can afford the mortgage payment? From an investment standpoint, buying a completed villa or townhouse right now, probably not the best position to be in, unless you're going to get a phenomenal rent and you can ride out the next cycle when it comes. In the apartment space, tons of value out there, both in the off-plan segment and in the completed segment as well. If you've got one of the communities to look at, Arjan, just down the road, right? The amount of development that's happening there. You've got Samana, that I can't even count how many projects they've got launched there. Oro 24, Atif there that came out of Danube. He's got a bunch of projects launching there. You've now got Ellington launching their first project there, right? If that doesn't show a sign of confidence in that community, and you're seeing the price of off-plan versus the price of older legacy buildings that were completed 5-10 years ago, huge differential in prices. So I think you're going to start to see that slowdown, right? It's going to be driven by two different things. We'll see a slowdown in transactions, slowdown in price growth. Price growth, we're seeing in some markets slow down in that completed segment. Off-plan segment, take the Arjan example. Average price per square foot for completed property, about $850 a square foot. For something off-plan, over $1,200. big gap. That growth in the off-plan is going to keep pushing it up. But you look at these buildings and they're really different. So one of the other predictions we had was that there'd be a push towards greater amenities. Right? Just having an attended lobby and maybe a pool, not enough anymore.
We want more.
Yeah, and
sustainability is another aspect.
And that's one that we also predicted would come in more, and it hasn't as much yet. To certain elements, some have, but there's also the cost-benefit analysis for developers. One of the interesting things that we might see, and I'm probably going to write a paper or a short thing on this later this year, is we've got corporate tax coming in. So no one likes tax. It's a 4-letter word for most people.
Don't disagree.
No one likes it, but when you pay tax around the world, what does that tax go to? It goes to the government. What's the government do with that money? Right? They reinvest it in different things. We benefit from great road infrastructure and other things here. When you don't have tax being paid by, and not individuals right now, scrap that, just go corporate tax. So if I go back, I spent a lot of time, I was in New York for 10 years, developers there would be incentivized to build affordable living, green buildings, because there were tax abatements and tax breaks for doing it. So when you can reduce your tax liability and the government can give something in return, so we may see that here. Right?
It will benefit all.
So the government may choose at some point to go, right, we would like to see growth in this type of housing, and then incentivize developers for doing that, or it could reduce their tax liability for the year. So there could be a benefit to corporate tax coming in for developers. So we might see that sustainability, ESG, those goals coming, some more affordable housing coming. There's some benefits we might see associated to corporate tax.
Yeah, no, I don't disagree with you. It's watch this space. Let's see what happens in 2024. So let's just pull all of the information together. What area is the one, if you want to invest in, based on the increased demand, the popularity at the moment? Is there one key area that's up there, or is it different for off-plan and ready?
It's different.
Yeah.
It would be different. And it's also end user investment, right? If you're an end user, it's about your needs and what you can afford now and what you can afford over the next 5 years. Going back to my personal thing, I'm not a buyer right now for a completed villa or townhouse. You know what, it's 95% true. The right thing comes up and the monthly payments of taking a mortgage work out and I'm comfortable with that, I'm a buyer. Right? So those communities, it's really down to where you want to be. Right? If you're in love with the Greens or the Springs or any of those communities, and prices have got to a point where really at the top and you think, but if you can afford it, right, that's the place you want to be. Up and coming communities, well, the Oasis, when we see pricing, let's see if they make sense.
That makes sense.
Majid Al Futtaim, Talal Al-Ghaf is a project I love. From the townhouses through, you see the evolution there. They started small and villas and then these mansions. They've got a new community coming up. Watch this space. That will be one to watch. And just same for Arjan, I think it's going to be an area that you'll see more and more growth in. Ellington coming in there and other developers coming in there. The quality is really going up. One thing that kind of lacks a little bit is mass transit. But when you look at the longer term plans for the metro, there's several new lines to come. When they're going to come, we don't know.
It's going to service all these areas. And you mentioned Arjan there. I mean, we're in Dubai Hills. Arjan's just the other side of Sakim. I mean, it's a prime location.
I mean, look, one day you will probably see a metro line go straight down Al Qudra all the way out to Town Square and probably further. If we go back to the Oasis, if you look at the raw land right now and you look at Jumeirah Golf Estates, you see a road, so it's 44, right, that comes through JVC and then it kind of goes to Alpha and disappears.
It's been waiting. I lived in Jumeirah Golf Estates and was waiting for that road.
Everyone knows that road. That road continues, if you see the plots, it continues all the way down. It'll go past the Oasis all the way to 611. I have no idea what the RTA has plans for, but I will put money on that happening. When the Oasis launches, that road will be extended all the way through. Because you've got Damac Lagoons, you've got Talal Al-Ghaf, you're going to have the Oasis, it's going to need that other corridor. It'll take pressure off of Hester Street, finally, and they're doing expansion work on their no one's favourite road. Sakim right here as well. I mean, I think you're going to see a big evolution with public transit in general. The roads, the metro system, I think you're going to see real big changes over the next 5-10 years in those.
So it's all positive. We're going to get busier and
Look,
busier.
I'm not the most bullish person when it comes to looking at the market. I've always got an air of skepticism and not negativity, but
I'm planning for that, isn't it? If something changes.
It doesn't mean that everything will stay rosy. Every market has ups and downs, right? You can try and time the market. At the end of the day, we are heading for a downturn. Right?
But then that brings opportunities as well for people who maybe missed the boat this time.
It's just when that downturn's going to be and what's going to push it into a downturn. COVID brought us out of a 6-year downturn. What's going to push us over? It'll come down to is population growing, is absorption there as what's being uptaking those properties. Do developers forget and get too carried away and too much comes on, or the wrong product type comes on? Or do we have another significant event in the world that just slows things down in general? We've avoided what's going on economically, globally right now. We're benefiting right now, but it can't go on forever. When? It's anyone's guess.
Yeah, next year.
We'll
see. We said that last year. So thank you, Zan. Informative as always, and we'll hold you accountable next year when you come back on and see if the market exceeds as it has the first half of this year.
Always a pleasure. Thank you for having me. Enjoy the summer.
Try out the heat, so enjoy your holiday.
Cheers.
Thank you for tuning in to Property Talk from Louise's Lounge. We hope you've enjoyed today's chat. And as always, if you have any feedback, questions or topics you'd like us to discuss in the future, please do let us know. And thank you for tuning in. See you next time.